Hi, this is TJ with netpicks.com. I'd like to talk to you about my 3 biggest trade mistakes ever. I've been trading for a long time. In fact, I started trading back in the early 1990s. I made some really good trades, but I also made some horrible ones. When I first started, all of them were made without really having a clue about what I was doing or the risks associated with trading. 3 trades in particular really stand out and had a huge impact on me and my life. When I first started, I traded through a discount broker. At $50 commission per trade, I thought I was getting a great deal, and in those days, I was. I had opened up a futures account with a full-service broker that a friend recommended, and I began trading a variety of futures contracts and markets. Well, that in itself was a mistake, but that's not the mistake I'm referring to. You'll see what happened. I was able to catch a good trend in crude futures. In about 3 weeks, my account was up about $12,000 in profit, and I was feeling like I had the markets figured out. The next day, we bought a contract of crude oil based on the recommendation of my full-service broker. As it turned out, we bought at the very top price of the morning. Soon my phone rang with my broker on the line recommending that we buy another contract. We were only down a little bit, and oil was going to go a lot higher, so why not buy at such a discount? It was like bargain shopping. Well, you could probably tell by now that this story doesn't end very well. My phone rang again. It was recommended that I buy a third contract. There was no way oil was going to go any lower, and so I put my faith in my broker's advice. We just finished making $12,000 over the last 3 weeks. I was feeling confident. I had the market figured out, so why not? Bought that third contract of oil. Well, what do you suppose happened? It wasn't too much longer when my phone rang again, and my broker had to give me the bad news that I had just lost $12,000. $12,000. It took 3 weeks to make it. It took just a couple hours to lose it. It wasn't a total waste, although it hurt a lot. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Well, 2, really. First of all, the market's a very dangerous place. And second, that I had developed a false sense of security due to being overly confident, when I really knew nothing about what I was doing. Later on, I learned that confidence is actually a good thing, but you have to have confidence in the right things when you trade. Being overly confident can hurt you if you're overly confident about the wrong things, like thinking you have the market figured out. Not too long afterwards, I had opened a stock trading account with Charles Schwab and Company. At $19.95 per trade, that seemed too good to be true, and in those days that was a pretty good deal. Schwab was the first discount broker. Another one of my earlier trades, I had purchased 100 shares of Cisco Systems. I paid $20 per share, about $2,000. I had some friends that thought very highly of the stock. When it had risen to $30 per share, I was thrilled to have gained 50% and to have made a $1,000 profit. That actually was a huge mistake. You see, I still hadn't learned another valuable lesson. I didn't have a plan. I was just winging it. Who can go broke making a profit? Especially $1,000 and a 50% return. In fact, that's become a cliche. Who can go broke making a profit? And it makes sense. You would think nobody could. But that's not really true. And in hindsight, we all know what ended up happening. After numerous splits, at the peak of the dot-com boom, that very same 100 shares of Cisco would have been worth over $300,000. I mean, think about it. A $1,000 profit versus a life-changing event. Who said you can never go broke taking a profit? It's actually not necessarily true. Check out this chart of Cisco. This is after adjusting for all the splits that took place. I bought it way back in here. It looks like it's almost near zero. $20 is up at this line, but after numerous splits, my 100 shares became 200, and then became 400, and then became 800, then 1600, and so forth and so on. And by the time it got up to the peak here, it was worth well over $300,000. And if I really knew what I was doing, I might have been buying puts all the way down as well. And finally, the third trade that really stood out was the same trade where George Soros broke the Bank of England. In 1992, I actually participated in a small way on that very same move. Soros made billions. I did pretty well myself. It was a historic sell-off, and I actually was able to spot it on the charts and short the pound dollar. I made several $1,000s, took my earnings, bought a 3-month open-ended first-class Eurorail pass, and backpacked my way through Europe. It was awesome. In fact, it was that very same trip that led me to meeting a friend from South America who I later went to go meet and ended up meeting my wife. So that trade ended up being a life-changing event for me and probably was the best trade I ever made for that reason. But from a trader's perspective, it was a mistake. Staying with the trade would have made a whole lot more money and would have been way more profitable. I just didn't know any better. I really didn't have a plan. Okay, I shouldn't count that as one of my biggest mistaken trades because luck does factor into trading, and I really got the better side of good luck from that trade. Much has changed in my life since then. At some point, I realized I needed a plan. I needed a format. It makes sense, right? I mean, living at the right edge of the chart like all traders and looking out into the blackness of uncertainty, doesn't it make sense to have some sort of a roadmap to guide your every trade decision? I mean, that's what we do, right? We're at the edge of the chart, we have to make a trade decision, and we have no idea whether the trade is going to win or lose. We want it to win. We have no control over it. We need to put the odds in our favor. Shouldn't your trade decision be a part of a plan that actually has been well thought out and has the highest likelihood of succeeding as possible? Just ask yourself this question for a moment. Would you rather go into the markets with a chart like this, not knowing what's going to come next? Or does it make more sense to go into the markets with a chart like this, where you actually have clear and concise rules, a place to enter the trade, right here, a place to take profit, and the ability to actually stay in the trade and trail it down to get its maximum potential? You see, you can go broke by taking profits too soon when you miss too many of these big moves like this. So it makes sense to have a plan to actually be able to take advantage of that. It's amazing when I look back at my trading career, so much has changed, it's unbelievable. Now I actually host a live trade room. It's an awesome experience, an awesome responsibility. Everybody hanging on my every word, depending on reliable trade calls. When I first started, I was scared to death. I was going to sink or swim. And at that point, all the experience, all the mistakes I had made, it all became crystal clear. There really was only one solution. What I realized at that moment of truth was to just lean on the system. It was the only choice I can make. Follow my trade plan. And as it turned out, it's worked over and over and over again. And 3.5 years later, it's still working. I've put in a lot of chart time since then. I've spent countless hours watching the price move on my chosen markets. And yet each and every day the same words of wisdom work their way through my head. Just lean on the system. Follow the trade plan. Today's session started like any other session. There were challenges in the world, the European debt crisis, the MF global meltdown, and yet we had to start our session. At 8:30, which is our start time each and every day, we had a setup to go short on the Euro-US right here on this bar here. So what was I going to do? I could have talked myself out of trading because of all the craziness going on in the world, but of course, there's craziness every day. There's always something going on in the world that moves the markets. There was only one choice for me, and that was to just lean on the system. I had a little plus sign here showing me an entry. Our start time is 8:30 on this very same bar. You can see that over here in the data window, 8:30. You can see my entry at 3660, the plus sign. I put in the call to go short at 3660, and the trade moved down, hitting its full target. I would have felt pretty stupid if I missed that trade because I didn't have faith in my system, but I've known, one of the things that I've learned, the culmination of all those hard lessons really paid off, because now I've got the ability and the confidence to just lean on the system. Remember I said it depends on where you put your confidence? If you could put your confidence in an excellent trade system that continues to put the odds in your favor on each and every trade, you put yourself in the best position to succeed as a trader. Not too much later this morning, we got another trade, this time to go long. And again, all I can do is lean on the system. The trade plan says trade until 11 a.m. or until we get 2 winners and a positive result. We have 1 winner. Here's a long right here at this little plus sign. There was no choice for me to make but to call the trade. Lean on the system. Go long at 3651. We're going to target 3696. And you can see the targets up here, no problem. Whether it won or lost isn't really the issue, because it's a culmination of all the trades, and putting the odds in your favor on every trade is where you make your money as a trader. As long as you manage your money and don't put on too much leverage, and you've got the confidence and the belief to stick with the tried and true trade system and trade plan, you could succeed as a trader. To conclude this video, I hope you learn from my mistakes. Realize the market has risks. Use a system that works on a consistent basis. I use the SST, the 7 Summits Trader. I developed it as a result of all my experience calling live trades in the markets. Countless chart time. Put the odds in your favor on every trade by following your plan and learning to lean on the system. Don't ever put more than 2% of your capital at risk on any given trade. Let the odds do the heavy lifting and work to make you a profitable trader. Thanks for joining me on this video, everybody. This is TJ with netpicks.com. I'll see you on the next one.